On my way to work, I just listened to podcasts about games. Where the water tastes like wine was mentioned and praised in some of them, and I was curious about the concept. I cannot say that the game did not surprise me, but it surely left me many doubts on how to analyze it. Where the water tastes like wine, it's a walking simulator focused on storytelling, music and art style. We start the game by losing a bet on poker, and from there on we have to pay our debt exchanging stories through the United States of America. And when I say that we exchange stories, I mean just that. We hear stories and then we have to exchange them with other characters in the game so we can learn new ones. Graphically, I can and I have to split the game in two. The paintings that serve as the background when we hear or exchange stories are very good, diverse, and not many times repeated, and they are really a joy to watch. Then there are the times we walk through the US, where we are literally a 3D skeleton walking on a 2D map, all terribly optimized with big frame drops on my NVIDIA 1070. We are saved by the music though, that we quickly start to whistle, and it stays in our heads for days. This helps us during the long walks we have to do while playing. In this small introduction, I practically described the whole game, but there are still some things I want to talk about. In a game about stories, it is strange that there is no mother story, a guiding thread to lead us. In the background, the game looks like a succession of fetch quests very similar to each other. We collect the story of a random character that we find, and then switch it to what I call an NPC. These NPCs ask us for stories of a specific type, such as a funny one, or a sad one, or a scary one, or exciting one, or even a ghost story. And each of those types of stories can be included in 18 different categories. These categories are defined by the way we guide the dialogue trees, since a story can start in one category and halfway we are able to shift it to another one, depending on the dialogue options that are shown to us. It is advisable to vary categories since it helps us in the long run. Now that's where the problem begins, for although we know the category of each story, we do not know what type they are. I can read a story as a funny one, and the NPC says it's a scary one. It just baffles me. What helps a bit is that if an NPC finds a story scary, it's a scary story for every other NPC, and I quickly took advantage of my little notebook to also take note of what type of story they are. Something that does not help is that we can only choose 3 stories from each category to tell at each moment, something that is strange and even ridiculous, because if we know all stories, why aren't we able to tell them all? Have we selectively forgotten some of them and then remember them again? It makes no sense. As we tell the NPCs the stories they want to hear, they will trust us more and start to tell us their story as well. Each story can have multiple levels, and each one of them will require listening to stories more rooted in a community. Stories only upgrade, well, if I can say that, after we tell them and or listen them back as we travel. At the beginning, this mechanic was difficult to understand, but although I'm only about 2/3 of the end of the game, I think it will be much easier from now on. Although this game is about the US from the beginning of the last century, It can be played by people from any country, because even without having the exact historical reference, we perceive the references from the numerous films that we have already seen, although sometimes we cannot associate them to a specific historical period. I've discovered that the game is very optimized to be played with a controller, although there is only a PC version of it. And I also realized that it is perfectly possible to play just using one hand, which made this game my companion when I was walking with my small baby on my lap. As a negative part of the game, the total absence of cloud saving, which is inexcusable. Having to start all over a game like this, or having to choose if we want to play on a PC or laptop, well, yes, the stories can go on multiple ways, but deep down it's always the same experience, and for me the replay value of this game only exists for completionists. In addition to this, there are countless little mini annoyances, as the songs ending or changing abruptly, the cars from which we can ask for a ride are only going in one direction, which half of the time is not the one that we need, parts of the game where the narrator fails, long periods of absolutely nothing where we just walk, immense backtrack that only serves to increase the length of the game, a system of life, tiredness and money that is useless, because it can be literally given to us without the need to do anything. We can only cross rivers at certain points, which leads to huge walks when sometimes we just want something that is right there. Dialogues and art are repeated in some stories, and this is just a 20-hour game, I suppose. These have turned into a ghetto of complaints, haven't it? As a rule of thumb, I do not do this, but in this game these mini hassles accumulate easily, especially for a player who does not like walking simulators like me. So, it's settled. The game is bullshit and is not worth playing. Well, not exactly. What is certain is that over time I began to like him. It's not Game of the Year material, but it has a strange way of captivating us. In one hand, we start to want to know more about the NPC story, and in the other hand, we want to know where the game will take us, because at certain point we also begin to realize that there is something that is also about us. This fascinated me. I really want to finish the game, but I will only have this feeling because I've forced myself to play during the initial stages, just to be able to do this review. At this point, I'm sure it's a good game inside the genre. Probably not the best or most conventional to start playing with, but for those who like the genre, certainly has a lot that can be enjoyed, because it is noticeable the love with which it was done. Recommended.
Does being out here feed that part of you? It's that way for me, living in a state of motion, resting.